When I was a kid, I was always confused by how many Coca-Cola commercials there were. Like, this is the default soda, surely everybody knows what this is already. Why are they advertising it to me? Obviously, the reason they do this is to constantly remind you, to make you want one in that moment.
No, you can't make me. I like Dr. Pepper and Baja Blast. I'm not drinking Coca-Cola. I love Coca-Cola. I've always said this.
December is the one time of year I'll drink Coke, and it's only because of these polar bears. I can resist their normal ads. I'm not a big fan of Humanity, I don't really care about these ones. The trucks are great, but I can't really relate to trucks on a personal level, you know? But polar bears are awesome. I'm powerless against these guys, both from a marketing perspective and in one-on-one combat. I think I'd die if I fight one of these. They'd used polar bears in marketing a few times before, but in 1993, the Northern Lights commercial turned these early 90s primitive 3D bears into company mascots for a while. In the original ad, they seem like standard, normal polar bears for a minute. You don't really know where it's going. And then they bust out the cola to watch their movie, and it's like, okay, these guys are cool. These ads have a lot of history, from the original commercials to tons of weird merchandise, a short film, and even Pepsi commercials.
There's a shocking lack of comprehensive ramblings about these. Thankfully for you, I don't have a life, so let's talk about polar bears.
Most of these commercials came out in the 90s with this very charming early 3D look. Now there's two sides to these ads. Some are pretty typical polar bear adventures. The baby is too scared to go swimming, but there's a refreshing Coca-Cola beverage on the other side, and obviously that baby's gonna swim if there's Coke in store. I would also be terrified to swim in 90s 3D water, it just looks spooky, I don't know. In another, the baby bears are struggling to get this massive Christmas tree home, there's some peril, and they work together with the big bear to get it back. The family togetherness ones are really nice and sweet, and they make noises like this. On the other side, we have ads that start normal right before this happens. Get those wholesome family ads out of here. We're doing extreme sports now. Okay, look at how cool this polar bear is. They've got the sweet shades. They're just shooting down this hill without a care in the world. This looks so fun. I want to do this. Grabs the Coke mid-slide, sits directly up and stops almost instantly. You wish you could be as cool as this bear. This one is a pretty solid midpoint between the two. There's extreme sports, but it's with the family. They strike a really good balance with them doing people things and also keeping that animalistic feel. Like, these polar bears are ice skating, but they still move and emote kinda like you'd expect polar bears to. They studied actual polar bear movement to make them feel more authentic. Oh, they also meet Santa Claus in this, who gives them a Coke. This isn't even a cartoon Santa, this is just a man. And this is not even the weirdest commercial. The guys are all drinking Coca-Cola, but they can't open them. So they form a big polar bear tower, grab the moon, use it as a bottle opener. The entire time On My Way by Phil Collins from the film Brother Bear is playing. Sometimes they might get bold and introduce new animals into the Coca-Cola polar bear mythos, like in 1997, where this funny seal helps them get their ball back. And instead of eating it, they share a refreshing bottle of Coke. How nice. But the one I remember the most is from 2005. The polar bears have a new look, and they run into a bunch of penguins having this crazy party. The mid-2000s sure had a lot of penguin stuff going on. The baby falls down the hill, there's this moment of uncertainty, we don't know what's gonna happen, and then the baby penguin comes out and gives them a Coke. And then they make a face like, alright, I guess we won't eat you guys. This was actually not the first time that penguins were in Coke commercials. Back in 1987, predating all of these polar bear ads, there were penguins in Diet Coke commercials. Obviously different marketing campaigns, so this isn't part of the Coca-Cola polar bear canon, I'm assuming.
These commercials were very successful. They're super sweet, they've got cute polar bears. What's not to love? There is actually one other very specific reason why I like them, though.
I don't know what it is, but I love snowy, wintry scenery with either a night sky or just set in space. Whether it's a plain dark blue, has some stars sprinkled in there, or there's some wild Aurora Borealis action going on. I don't know, I just really love anything with this aesthetic. The polar bear commercials are really nice to look at, and if they were set during the day, I think I'd weirdly feel less passionate about them.
Which I realize is a stupid thing to say. First of all, that I'm passionate about the advertising for a beverage that I don't really care for that much, but also being less passionate due to a hypothetically different sky.
Being highly marketable cartoon animals, a ton of merchandise spawned from these commercials. I have a small little collection here, but there was also bobbleheads, phones, bubble blowers, plush that plays a little piano, plush that plays a little saxophone, water bottles, puzzles, cookie jars, parade balloon that apparently you can rent through this website, helium not included of course.
They didn't do very many new commercials in the 2000s. I seem to remember the penguin one being replayed year after year. I thought, hey, maybe they're done doing new polar bear ads. Maybe this is just gonna have the same fate as that M&M's ad that's been playing since the 90s.
Ow! So you think Santa will like these red and green M&Ms?
I don't know. I never met the guy. He does exist!
They do exist. Santa?
Some of those extreme sports ads from the 90s were made for the 1994 Olympics, and in the early 2010s there were a few Super Bowl ads. These have a very different vibe. They're watching the game on TV, they move a little more humanoid-like. I'm not sure that I like this style quite as much as the old ones. The original ad was realistic polar bears watching the northern lights because that was like a movie to these wild creatures. It felt like what polar bears might actually be up to when people weren't watching. I don't know how to feel about them having modern technology. It's fine though, the bears slipping all over the ice trying to catch the Coke like this is their big football game. It's cute. The style is definitely different, but these do manage to capture the spirit of what made these fun originally. The one where they're building a snowman is really nice too, though that sky, little too during the day for my liking, but whatever, it's fine, it's nice. In 2011, the polar bears appeared on the cans for the holidays with this really cool design. But then everybody got really mad about it, so they stopped making them. Some people were upset because the color looked too similar to Diet Coke and reading is just really hard. And some people were simply mad because Coke is red, and they made it not red, and that is so terrible, and I'm so angry.
People are stupid.
Coke was working with the World Wildlife Fund to protect the habitats of polar bears, and these short-lived cans were to help spread awareness. Coke has made donations before, but they've gotten a lot of criticism for not doing more to help protect polar bears. Because while their mascots are drinking Coke and watching football, the real creatures are under threat of extinction. So instead of doing more, they just stopped using polar bears.
I'm kidding, of course, I don't actually know the real reason. However, some people are convinced that the reason they did this was because Coca-Cola hates white people. I wish I was kidding about that one.
Hey, polar bears are white, and they don't use them in commercials anymore? Clearly this means Coke is trying to remove white people from the face of the earth. This is the worst image I've ever seen. Polar bears should just replace humans at this point.
While Coke was moving away from polar bears, they sent them off with a bang. 2013's short film, The Polar Bears, produced by Ridley Scott, brought to you by the Coca-Cola Company, starring Armie Hammer as Zook the Polar Bear.
Looking lovely in your winter whites, ladies.
Is he kidding? Look, here comes Zook. Hi, Zook!
Oh, hey, girls.
Poor things. They must be hypothermic.
I don't like that the bears talk. The commercials are fun because they just make silly little grumbles. It's like the old Lego Star Wars games. It's so much funnier when they just go...
Dad just doesn't get me. What do I always say?
So, this polar bear's dad hates him because he's irresponsible. So to prove him wrong, he immediately abandons his little sister in the middle of nowhere and then interrupts this big important presentation. Yeah, that'll show him. Oh, and this puffin does this. They don't even drink Coca-Cola in this. There's just a message about everyone getting along with each other. I wanted funny soda. At first, it seems like Coke just distributed this, but really has nothing to do with the product or the rest of the ads. However, there actually was one commercial starring the family from this short, along with one of the Puffins. So there you go, somehow this is actually loosely connected. Coke was moving away from those commercials, but there was one more polar bear ad in the 2010s. For Pepsi.
Uncle Teddy!
What are you guys doing? It's summer. Let's hit the beach. You need a Pepsi. Ooh. Let's have some fun. Woo! All right.
Now this seems like just a funny commercial, but you don't know the discourse that this caused. What's Pepsi's problem? Coca-Cola and Pepsi have been taking pot shots at each other for years. This is just the latest chapter. I was surprised by these too, and I'm not really fond of them. The polar bear thing being the worst. They could have just made a fake soda as opposed to using Coca-Cola. Well, gee, I used to like Pepsi, but now it's Coke all the way. Those were nice traditional commercials they mocked. You ever notice how there are more Pepsi ads ripping into Coca-Cola and not the other way around? Coke ads just talk about how great their taste is. Pepsi is more like, we're so much rad and hip that lame Coke, yo, wicked. I find the recent slew of Pepsi commercials to be in bad taste. My sentiments exactly. It wasn't funny, it wasn't cute, and it was just in really bad taste. And FYI, on a good day Sprite greater than Coke and Pepsi. Does anyone else think that Uncle Teddy sounds a bit like John DiMaggio?
Summertime is Pepsi time. You gotta work on that tan, bro.
They brought the polar bears back for the 25th anniversary of Northern Lights in a new commercial. They've kinda given up on them moving and acting like polar bears. These are just humans in normal human houses that happen to look like polar bears. They don't even have the night sky here. However, the penguin reference is cool, and they've got the trucks from the old Christmas Trucks commercial. That's actually pretty awesome. The Polar Bears has been the one Coca-Cola marketing campaign I've ever paid much attention to. They just make me feel all cozy around the holidays, they're a lot of fun, these goofy polar bears made for great company mascots.
But with the polar bears gone, Coca-Cola doesn't really have a mascot anymore. I guess the closest thing they have to one big figure representing their entire company is like a Coke freestyle machine.
Holidays are coming, holidays are coming. 'Tis the season, watch out.